So today's Far Cry 6 reset added 3 new guns that you're absolutely going to love. We have one of the most brutal LMGs added in the game. We have one of the best shotguns also added in the black market shop, and finally a pretty decent gold and unique SMG as a reward from the weekly insurgency. So let's talk about all of that in this video, and as always, don't forget to leave a thumbs up on the video. I want to start things off, of course, with this week's Lola and black market reset. You're going to notice that there's a couple of really cool weapons in there. One of them is the LMG I was talking about. It's the best defense, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm absolutely in love with it. We're gonna talk about that in just a little bit. And of course, we're also getting the M133 Custom shotgun as well. By the way, fully upgraded, the shotgun is going to have a full damage bar right there, meaning that you're going to absolutely ruin targets from almost any distance. I've been sniping targets with this, I've been in close range, doesn't really matter. A pretty okay placed shot will 9 times out of 10 one-shot any enemy. Now, of course, assuming that you're aiming at any part of their body. If you're aiming towards the limbs, maybe you're not going to do a complete one-shot, but you're gonna be pretty close to that too. Now, what you need to know is that there's very few guns in Far Cry 6, especially shotguns, that can reach their full damage potential and also compensate with a ton of other really crazy stats like bullet velocity, accuracy, stealth, and especially handling, but nothing more important than magazine size. Well, the M133 Custom variant has all of that. There's only one shotgun slightly better than it in the game, which is also a custom variant of the SPS-12 from a few weeks back, and it's only minimally better with a much better fire rate, but this one holds a better punch. Like, it feels satisfying to shoot targets with it. You don't shoot too fast, so you're not spending bullets too fast. You're just taking your time with each target, but each shot is very well placed. Now, since your magazine size is rather low, most of the suppressors in the game will not overheat. Even the ones that mentioned, they are quick to overheat, which is why I recommend this large cylindrical suppressor that only slightly impairs your effective range, but still greatly reduces your weapon noise. So it's still an amazing stealthy alternative and still deals very high damage, but there's not really much downside because of overheating. Now, if at any point you thought that the best LMG in Far Cry 6 was anything but the next weapon, you have something coming for yourself. We have the best defense in the black market shop for this week, and it's one of the few weapons that I strongly recommend you get your hands on, specifically because it's the highest rate of fire LMG in the game right now, and yet it still somehow retains most of its per bullet damage compared to some of the other LMGs. As a matter of fact, if you compare this with any other LMG, you will notice that the damage on this one is on the higher side while still retaining a large magazine size and a large rate of fire. Now, in terms of how this weapon behaves in combat, I will say this: I absolutely love how this plays against human targets. You don't really have much recoil, even though the accuracy on it is on the lower side. You can pretty much snipe enemies from very far away and still deal a ton of damage. Now, what I fully recommend here is to go with an MK2 extended magazine so that you can bump that up to 150, and you're almost close to the cap of the amount of bullets you can hold, which is 200. In fact, I barely find myself ever reloading this because there's no point. Like, by the time I need to reload those 150 bullets, I already got rid of almost all of the enemies inside any camp, and if there's anybody left, yeah, the reload animation on it isn't even that slow compared to some of the other LMG options in the game. I would also say that is one of my favorite when it comes to just pure aesthetics. It doesn't even look like an LMG, it looks like a complete cannon. Its main advantage comes from the slight trade-off between attachments and mods. So on this gun, you actually have access to 4 mod slots and only 3 attachments, meaning that you can both place 3 damage MK2 mods on them, with of course the overclock included, and also the LMG socket with the extended magazine that I was talking about previously. Of course, this means you're sacrificing anything like a suppressor in case you want anything like that, but I don't think that is even necessary on an LMG. Neither would a compensator, because you're pretty much maxed out with the velocity on it anyway, and the damage is pretty much off the charts too. So all in all, this right now might just be the best LMG in Far Cry 6. Now this, ladies and gents, brings us to the final weapon, which is the Tsarevich submachine gun, and of course also another pretty useful unique weapon simply because of the armor-piercing rounds that come automatically on it. You also have the fast reload to improve your reload speed and a trigger discipline to improve aimed body damage, which is indeed very helpful because as you can see it almost doubles your damage with this gun right here. Now I will say this about this gun, I think that the trigger discipline on it mod doesn't actually work for some reason. Maybe it's just me, maybe the UI is bugged for me, but it seems to me that it should have been a little bit higher, or who knows, maybe I'm just doing it wrong. But the gun itself is acting pretty okay. If you go against enemies, you're not gonna have too much trouble taking them down, and the time to kill on this gun isn't really that bad. What is bad on it is the complete lack of a proper sight. Yeah, you're pretty much using the sights already existing on the guns. I kind of wanted a scope on it, it would have been a lot better, but then it would have messed with the overall aesthetics. It's still an amazing weapon to look at, and you have a pretty cool skin to play with, so I'm pretty sure that this was from the main shop too. Otherwise, the rate of fire and the magazine size means that you can go on for longer and take down enemies without having to worry too much about reloading the gun. But once you do reload the gun, it only takes a fraction of a second to do so before you jump back in the fight and get to take down the enemies. Anyway, this is it with probably the last update that we will see for Far Cry 6 before Christmas, and I kinda wish that we did have something prepared for the holidays. It just seems that the game has been running off the steam that it had since launch, and Ubisoft has put in like minimal amounts of content in the game since then. I mean, yes, we had a DLC and a few missions and maybe the weekly resets, but none of them would bring you back for more than a few hours, I guess, and even that on a weekly basis. So there's so many other online games in there and so many other single player games that are still doing events for the holiday season, and they have some pretty cool rewards. Yet Far Cry 6 kinda seems empty, kinda seems lacking, so not really sure exactly what Ubisoft's plan is for the game in 2022, but I'm not sure they're gonna be focusing on it too much compared to, you know, their plans when it comes to some other live service games that they might be preparing for the following years. So this is pretty much it with it. Totally let me know down below, as always, what's your opinion on these guns, which one is your favorite, and I'll see you guys next time, so peace.